Broadcasting from beautiful downtown Tallahassee, it's Nantan Lupan at the Drive-In.
Hello, thank you for listening today. If you'd like to help this podcast keep going, please drop by iTunes and give me a review. It'll help a lot. I want to give a shout out to listeners Minnie, Lindsay, and Brian. Well, it's springtime down south, so I thought a little bunny fun might be appropriate. I'm going to start a new line today from Paul Fix in the undefeated 1969. Today's film is The Wonderfully Bad Night of the Lepus, 1972. Lepus is the genus for hares and jackrabbits and includes what we know as bunny rabbits. In this cautionary ecological tale, human actions lead to the growth of king-sized mutant rabbits. The original motion picture had giant glowing rabbit eyes rather than pictures of rabbits, as the producers did not think people would take the movie seriously as a science fiction movie if they saw bunnies too early. However, the studio still considered calling the movie Rabbits. That really invokes fear. What is more amazing about this movie than the subject matter is the number of big stars that were cast. Stuart Whitman played Roy Bennett. Whitman spent 3 years in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers during the post-World War II era. While in the Army, he won 32 boxing matches as a light heavyweight. What a man. He is best known for those magnificent men and their flying machines, plus the Comancheros 1961, which starred John Wayne, and of course, Bruce Cabot. Janet Leigh played his wife, Jerry Bennett. Janet Leigh was a major star and said she only took this part because it was filmed close to her home and she could spend more time with her family. Leigh started acting in 1947. She played the young ingenue and was cast with many of the leading male actors of that time period. In 1951, she married actor Tony Curtis. They starred in 5 movies together, including Houdini, 1953, The Black Shield of Falworth, 1954, and The Vikings, 1958. They had 2 children, one of which is Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee is best known for the Halloween movies, Trading Places 1983 with Eddie Murphy, and is the Poop Yogurt Lady. Janet was in Touch of Evil 1958 with Charlton Heston and Orson Welles. This was followed by a short role in a little horror flick in the 1960s. Although she was only on screen for about 45 minutes, she remains best well known for this movie, Psycho. In 1962, she was in The Manchurian Candidate, opposite Frank Sinatra. The Manchurian Candidate was released at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis and was well received. Rumors stated that the movie was pulled after the Kennedy assassination, but this is not correct. It was shown at the New York Film Festival in 1987 and became a bigger hit on re-release. Rory Calhoun played Cole Hillman. IMDb's mini-biography of Calhoun states that Calhoun starred in over 80 films and 1,000 television episodes. Before becoming an actor, he worked as a boxer, a lumberjack, a truck driver, and a cowpuncher. What a man. DeForest Kelley played the role of Elgin Clark. Kelley joined the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1943 and served in the movie production unit until 1946. He was spotted in a military training film and began getting work as an extra. This work was mostly in westerns. He bounced back and forth between television and movies and had a decent career until he was offered the role of Spock. That's right, I said the role of Spock. Kelley was first offered that role but turned it down for the role of Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. It is hard to picture Kelley in the role of his pointy-eared, green-blooded nemesis, Mr. Spock. Kelley was on the television series Star Trek for all 3 seasons. He was also in the 6 original movies and had a small cameo in the Next Generation pilot. During Kelley's career, he was cast in Gunfighter at the OK Corral 3 times. First on television, secondly in the movie of that name, and finally in the 3rd season of Star Trek. Following the Star Trek series, Kelley could get very little work as he was suffering from typecasting. This is one of the reasons he took the role in this movie. Finally, Kelley is not the only person in this film to play a doctor on Star Trek. Paul Fix, who I discussed in The Undefeated 1969, was the ship's doctor on the 2nd pilot for the series. This episode's linker, Paul Fix, was cast as Sheriff Cody. Story. This movie is set in a mythical time known as the 1970s, where ranchers, college professors, scientists, the government, law enforcement, and the military were all on the same side. It started out with black and white clips showing the effect of animal population explosions. It switched to the southwestern United States, where they are conducting a rabbit drive, basically herding the rabbits towards a fence and then shooting or clubbing them to death. As the movie gets down to business, Cole Hillman, Rory Calhoun, is riding across his ranch and his horse breaks his leg in a rabbit hole. He has to shoot the lame horse. Pesky wabbits. Cole goes to the university to meet with the university's president, Dr. Elgin Clark, DeForest Kelly. Cole explains that he wants to get rid of the rabbits without poison. Elgin tries to give him the same person that wiped out his coyotes, but they decide he is too efficient, and that's what caused the rabbit plague to start with. Elgin says he will speak to a, quote, young couple that are doing ecological research and see if they can find a way without poison. We meet the Bennetts, father, Roy, Stuart Whitman, mother, Jerry, Vivian Leigh, and daughter, Amanda. This, quote, young couple is around 45 years old. They are flushing bats out of a cave and capturing them in a net. Roy shakes the hell out of the cage of bats so he can record their sounds. Good science. Elgin arrives and gets him to go help Cole. At Cole's ranch, Cole explains that if he uses poison, he will have to move the cattle off the land, and now is not a good time to sell them. The other ranchers want to use poison on the rabbits, but Cole holds them off for the time being. They bat around a couple of ideas and then take a sample of the rabbits back to the university. Before they leave, Cole explains that there is a hybrid mob of rabbits because about 200 domestic rabbits escaped from a nearby farm the year before. Amanda and Cole's son Jackie become friends. At the university, the Bennetts have divided the rabbits into two groups, one to test and another as a control group. Good science. The Bennetts try rabbit birth control, but it doesn't work. Professor Dickinson from Public Health sends over a new serum that works by causing birth defects in the rabbits. They inject the test rabbits to the little girl Amanda's protest. When her parents aren't looking, she takes the injected rabbit and switches it with a control rabbit. That's why you can't let bratty kids hang around your science experiment. Did you ever see Dr. Frankenstein with a kid hanging out in his lab? She gets all whiny and the parents give her the rabbit from the control group. But wait, it's the infected rabbit. Amanda and her mother Jerry travel to the Coles ranch to get more rabbits. Amanda and Jackie meet again, and in a tussle, the infected rabbit gets away. The escape is somehow not that big a deal to Amanda. Back at the lab, things are going poorly, except that the rabbits are growing in size. Cole decides to burn a strip out a mile wide. The other farmers still want to poison the rabbits. Some amount of time passes, and the Bennetts travel to the Coles ranch for an inspection. While riding the range, they discover a giant footprint, but don't connect it to the rabbits. The two kids take off to go see Captain Billy, a miner that lives on the ranch. I hope Dracula is not hiding in the mine. Billy is not in his cabin, so they head into the cave looking for him. In the cave, Amanda sees giant bunny shadows, and eventually she sees Billy being eaten by the rabbits. The kids make it back, but Amanda is too traumatized to remember what happened. Scene switches to night, where a guy driving a truck full of vegetables stops by the roadside to check his load. As the driver starts to hear some noises, we begin to see rabbits moving in the shadows. Let me tell you, close-ups of giant bloody rabbit teeth are frightening. Now, rabbits like vegetables, but they go ahead and eat the driver as well. Sheriff Cody Paul Fix finds the murder scene at the vegetable truck. He sees the gnawing and saliva and takes it back to the lab. He asks if it's vampires. The lab guy says it looks like a saber-toothed tiger. The sheriff also gets the word about the murder of Captain Billy. The police also find 4 more people killed in a picnic area. Back at the university, Roy and Elgin try to figure out if the huge rabbits are the result of their failed experiment. They decide not to call the sheriff because it might bring bad publicity to the university. What is this, Florida State? The Bennetts, Cole, Elgin, and a couple of other guys go to the cave to kill the rabbits. Elgin and another guy go above the caves to attack from above. Jerry and the dynamite guy wire the cave and wait at Captain Billy's shack while Cole and Rory go into the cave looking for the rabbits. During the entire time, Jerry, Vivian Leigh, looks windblown and crazy like she's fresh out of the Psycho set. In a cinematic tour de force, the giant rabbits running through the cave in slow motion is amazing. While Cole and Roy are in the cave taking pictures of the rabbit and trying to find their way out, a rabbit slowly digs its way out behind the shack. The nose comes slowly through the dirt and is reminiscent of the shark surfacing in Jaws 1975. The rabbit attacks the dynamite guy, but Jerry shoots it with a rifle. Roy and Cole make it out of the cave, and they blow the cave. The dynamite guy has lost it. Game over, man, style. Anyway, I hope no bunnies were injured in the making of this movie. Most of the rabbits survive, and at least one in close-up is foaming at the mouth like he has rabies. Then they show a large herd of rabbits escaping the cave. That night, the bunnies invade Rory's ranch. As they stampede the horses, one of the rabbits licks its lips before it leaps off a cliff and attacks the horse herd. Since Cole is a manly man, he drives the herd off his ranch. The dynamite guy steals the truck and sees giant bunnies in the rearview mirror. I believe they reuse this shot in Jurassic Park. He crashes into the telephone pole, knocking out the phone, and dies as the truck explodes. Meanwhile, Elgin decides that they need to let the sheriff know, and Roy tells Jerry to take their daughter and go away for a while. The rabbits make it to Galino's, where they kill the telephone operator and her husband. Jerry and Amanda turn onto a dirt road and get the RV stuck right in the path of the rabbits, while Cole takes his shotgun and heads for help. Everybody gets stuck in the mud in Alabama. Cole makes it to the town where the rabbits are holed up in the store waiting for sundown. Rabbits are actually crepuscular, meaning they're most active in the twilight hours of both sunrise and sunset. This protects them against a lot of predators. Roy, Elgin, and the sheriff start looking for the rabbits via a helicopter and finally decide to call out the National Guard. They get Cole picked up and decide the rabbits are heading for the town of Ajo, where the university is located. Great understatement, speaking of the cave, quote, evidently some survived and got out. Reports of death and destruction are coming in as the herd moves forward. One of the best comes from the National Guard. Alpha Company reports rabbits are near Four Corners, killing as they come. Later, they state that there is a 2-mile-wide rabbit attack. I'd say a few got away. I have to take a second to comment on what could have been the best job ever. Foley artist, when your job is to create growling rabbits and thundering herd sounds. The National Guard realizes that they are outgunned, or out-rabbited, if you will. Ray comes up with a plan. He wants to electrify a section of railroad track and then drive the rabbits across it so they will be electrocuted. They need more help, so they go to the drive-in. I love movies that feature drive-ins, and they make the following announcement. Attention, attention, ladies and gentlemen, attention. There is a herd of killer rabbits headed this way, and we desperately need your help. Somehow, all the people don't run away screaming and line their cars with the headlights on to funnel the rabbits towards the electrical rail. The National Guard sets up machine gun nests to help with the herding. Roy borrows the helicopter to find his wife and daughter. At the RV, Jerry is fighting the rabbits off with road flares, as the kid who started all this screams out the window of the RV in a very annoying manner. Roy picks him up and is a big hero, although Jerry did all of the fighting. As the rabbits are driven away from the RV by the flares and the helicopter, they decide to attack a herd of cattle and cause a big stampede as they bloodthirstily jump down on the cows. The funnel of cars and machine guns work, and so thousands of rabbits are being electrocuted. Great plan. You would have gotten an A at West Point. That's a line from Cast a Giant Shadow with Kirk Douglas, in case you didn't know. Flamethrowers are the last line against the rabbits at the rail line. It must smell like burned fur. This is the point where a guy in a bunny costume, maybe a furry, attacks the line. A shotgun blast takes care of him, and all of the rabbits are dead. Sometime later, the Bennetts go back to Cole's ranch, and he remarks that the coyotes have come back to the farm. Survival of the fittest. As the movie ends, it shows menacing little bunnies in the field. Scary music plays. Got a few notes. Young rabbits are called kits or kittens. A male adult is a buck, and an adult female is a doe. The group is called a colony or a nest. The underground tunnels where they live is called a warren. The movie showing at the drive-in was Every Little Crook by MGM. The killer rabbit effects were created using normal rabbits on tiny sets. Also a lot of close-up and slow motion. Summary. Couple makes a case for birth control set against the backdrop of rabbit research. Thanks for listening today. Remember you can drop by iTunes to subscribe, or drop by snarkymoviereviews.com if you want to see my site. And remember to keep those iTunes reviews coming in.